Wild Wild West, the second best movie about gay cowboys, released June 30th, 1999. Happy 25th birthday, Wild Wild West. Today we're going to take a look back at this movie starring Will Smith and Kevin Kline on VHS. Let's go ahead and throw the tape in. The first time I saw this movie was actually at a drive-in. Earlier in that day, I had had a concussion and had visited the emergency room. But for some reason, my family still went to the drive-in. This is definitely 1999 because there's ads for Jack Frost, Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, The Iron Giant, Wild Wild West, The Steel Assassin, a PC game. I didn't know this had a PC game. And then a reminder to stay tuned afterwards for 2 music videos. Let's talk a little bit about the production and marketing of this movie. Burger King did the kids' meals, and they also had sunglasses you could get. You know I had to get myself a pair of those sunglasses when I was a kid. I wish I still had them. Anybody who's a big Kevin Smith fan, or has spent enough time on the internet, knows the story about how Kevin Smith was working on the Superman movie. He was working with a producer named John Peters. One of John Peters' requirements for Kevin Smith's script was that Superman in the final act would fight a giant spider. Kevin Smith eventually moved on from this project, and then the project didn't go forward at all. The following summer, Kevin Smith goes to see Wild Wild West in theaters.
When I went to the movies and saw a movie that John Peters had produced, and it was called The Wild Wild West. But then all of a sudden, like a giant fucking spider shows up.
And we have the giant spider. Last year, The Flash came out and fulfilled John Peters' prophecy of Superman battling a giant spider with a terrible CGI AI-looking Nicolas Cage Superman. Let's go ahead and break this movie down and start with the positives. I think this movie actually has a great cast. They're doing what they can with what they've been given. Will Smith is Jim West, teams up with Kevin Kline's Artemis Gordon. They work okay together, they sort of have that buddy relationship, at least later on. 2 people who work alone and don't want to work together. Salma Hayek's character is kind of boring and annoying, to be honest. Not that she is, but her character is definitely an asshole. Kenneth Branagh plays Dr. Loveless, and I think he does a good job playing this egocentric, racist psychopath. Ted Levine plays General Bloodbath McGrath. You may recognize him as Buffalo Bill. Kevin Kline pulls double duty in this movie, too. He's also playing U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant. I do really enjoy some of the comedy in this movie. Some of it we're going to talk about in the negative section. Some of it we're going to talk about right now.
Meet Professor Thaddeus Morton, kidnapped from MIT 6 months ago. Expert in the field of metallurgy, discovered in the field of alfalfa. That's a man's head.
The scene with the head on the table, and they're turning it over.
That is a man's head.
The scene where they take him out to hang him, and he's there trying to talk himself out of it.
Major misunderstandings this evening. I'd like to take a minute to clear a few of them up.
And aside from the comedy, I think there's also some genuinely interesting scenes in this movie. Like the shooters and the paintings. I always found that fun. Also, I really like the idea of a political action, not comedy, but maybe a political action thriller that's a Western. Take it a little more seriously. I think that'd be really awesome. You don't need all the steampunk, but while we're speaking of the steampunk, some of it's really awesome. His 1869 motorcycle's pretty funny, and all the gadgets and devices in the train are at least mildly entertaining. Speaking of entertaining, the music in this movie, done by Elmer Bernstein, who did the music for Ghostbusters. It's fantastic. It mixes elements of classic Western adventure movies, as well as like 70s action funk music. It's honestly, the music is just so well done. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of the negatives. There's 4 writers listed on this movie. S.S. Wilson, Brent Maddock, Jeffrey Price, and Peter S. Seaman. This is the horniest group of writers out there that isn't writing for adult films.
Problem solved.
Hold on there, Belle. You can't just go ramming a man's personal things into some hole like that.
Is that so?
This movie's ridiculous. I watched this as a kid. The implied question here.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That won't be possible. I have a tonsillitis.
I'm sorry, come on. The fake boob scene.
Ooh, huh? Now that's what a breast is supposed to feel like.
Very nice. Oh my God, I'm hard.
The titty drumming.
By the way, boobies look great tonight, nice and perky.
The breath of fresh ass line. Like, my God, are these teenage boys that wrote this? And don't get me started on Dr. Loveless.
Wouldn't you think that I could devise something for the lower half of my body that was hard, pumping, and indefatigably steely?
And aside from just being the horniest movie ever, Will Smith's character makes a ton of like ableist jokes against this guy who has no legs.
Well, when a fella comes back from the dead, I find that an occasion to stand up, be counted.
Who in returns makes racial jokes back at him.
Or perhaps the lovely Miss East will keep you from being a slave to your disappointment.
And actually, some of them are pretty funny. I still put it on the negatives because Will Smith doesn't say anything to this guy, but basically, you're short, you're handicapped. Still, the worst line goes to...
That's it. No more Mr. Knife Guy.
And what is with that theme song? Can we please not do this? I get it, it's directed by Barry Sonnenfeld and Will Smith stars, just like Men in Black. He did the theme song for that, and that theme song's awesome. I actually really like that one. When I hear this now, all I can think of is South Park.
Well, I'm a badass cowboy living in the cowboy days. Ricky, Ricky, Scott, yo, yo, bang, bang.
Okay, there's probably a lot of weird plot holes in this movie and weird inconsistencies and just bullshit science. The one that enrages me most, though, these metal saw blades that are shooting after them when they have magnets around their necks, right? They're able to duck and it passes them. Doesn't make sense that they can just continuously fly around either. Why aren't they hitting the ground? Gravity should be stronger than those magnets. If anything, it should be on the ground chasing you. Just dragging across the ground. I mean, I'm not a physicist, but come on. And my biggest gripe with the saw blades is why do they explode when they impact each other? I'll tell you why. It's so the scene can end. Otherwise, the metal chunks would still just be flying at them. Where did the metal chunks go anyway when they did explode? What the hell were they thinking when they made this scene? And my last gripe with this movie, at some point, Will Smith's character is just making jokes about Kevin Kline's character's inventions not working. The confusing part is that they've all worked. Guy builds an airplane in 1869, get off his case. Dude's riding around on a motorcycle and beats you on the train. What are you talking about? His inventions don't work. But I digress. Before I give my rating, why don't you jump in the comments down below and tell me what you think of Wild Wild West? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Are you like me where you kind of like it and have nostalgic feelings for it, but when you watch it, you also pick it apart? And on the heart scale, I am going to give it 2.5 out of 5 hearts. I definitely think this movie is overhated, and it gets a lot more shit than it should. But it's not a great movie by any means. However, I saw it when I had a concussion for the first time. Is that like some sort of messed up clue about why I like it? Could be. If you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.